Hello you guys, my name is Savannah and welcome to my channel. Today's video is so exciting because I'm going to be rereading my favorite books ever. I need to put my coffee down. So the Magnolia Park series has been my obsession and my favorite series ever for the last couple of years, ever since I started reading them. And if you didn't already know, the fifth in the series, Magnolia Park's Into the Dark, is coming out February 13th or February 14th. Of course, now I forget the day that it's coming out, but it's coming out very soon. So I've decided that I'm going to reread the 4 books in the series that are out already before the new one comes out because, to be honest, I really need a memory refresher and I really want to do this because I love these books so much. So I will be including spoilers in this vlog, pretty much just because I want to be able to talk about everything. So if you haven't read these books before, I would not recommend watching this video unless you want like things about the plot spoiled for you. I don't know why you would. But if you do, by all means, stick around, let's hang out. As I said, this is going to be a vlog full of spoilers, but once Magnolia Park Into the Dark, the new one in the series, comes out in a couple of weeks, I will be doing a reading vlog with that. It'll be, I don't know if I'm going to do a solely dedicated reading vlog for that book or if I will incorporate into another reading vlog. Let me know what you guys think. Should I incorporate Into the Dark into another reading vlog or dedicate a whole reading vlog just to reading that book? But when it comes time for that vlog, I think what I'm going to do is keep it spoiler free, just because it is brand new. A lot of people probably won't have read it yet. And then I'll do like spoilers at the end. So if you've already read it, you can stick around for the end and watch it. But I'm talking about a whole other video right now. Let's come back to the present and talk about the video that we're doing right now. I don't think I have anything else left to say for this introduction. Let's get to rereading these beautiful, beautiful books. Okay, I've made a little bit of headway into the first book in the series, Magnolia Parks, and there were just a couple of things that I want to talk about. The first is like honestly one of the main reasons why I wanted to reread this series, and it's the fact that I'm so obsessed with how Jessa Hastings writes. The way she writes about feelings is truly unmatched. Like the metaphors that she uses, the way she describes like having your heart broken is so like visceral. Her writing just makes you feel so deeply, and that's one of the many things that I love about these books. Oh my gosh, speaking of the like metaphors she uses to describe feelings, she used the metaphor of heartbreak being like a piano falling on top of you in this book. And if you guys read Never, she also used that metaphor, I feel like literally 3 times in that book. So that's kind of funny that Jessa's repeating that. But yeah, I'm just so happy to be back in this world with the box set. And I feel like when I read these books, it's like I'm just astral projecting myself to London, and every day I always just want to be in London, so escapism at its finest. Okay, I've been reading for a while and I'm like halfway through the book now, and I have a few more thoughts that I want to share. One of which is something that I've been paying attention to this time around is the way that Jessa Hastings time hops. Like obviously there's the present day story, like the main storyline, but also since these characters have so much history together, we get a lot of flashbacks as well. But the flashbacks are so important and they really help push the story along. I'm just so impressed with how she writes these flashbacks because I feel like having all these flashbacks could be like kind of annoying, but the way she writes it, it's like you're getting the backstory, but it's also pushing the current timeline along. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that is an aspect that I'm really enjoying during this reread. Another thing, and this is why rereads are so fun, is because you get to pick up on like the foreshadowing that you didn't pick up on the first time around. And there's so many things that point to the fact that Paley is who BJ cheated on Magnolia with. And I don't know how I didn't see that coming the first time I read this.
You're cooling it down.
Yeah, is it still hot?
Can you touch it? I can't tell.
I don't want to touch it. Okay, so it's the next morning and I'm reading more Daisy Hates. Oh, my highlighter's falling out. So as I was reading Magnolia Parks, it definitely felt like a reread. Like there were so many moments where I noticed bits of foreshadowing or just completely remembered all of these scenes. And obviously I still really enjoyed it. I love that book. But I'm reading Daisy Hates right now. And even though this book takes place during the same timeline as the Magnolia Parks books, I'm remembering way less of what was happening in Daisy's timeline than I did in Magnolia's timeline. And I think that's because the first time I read this series, I much preferred the Magnolia books over the Daisy books. But I am loving this book this time around. So it'll be very interesting to see if after my reread, I prefer the Daisy books or the Magnolia books this time around. But yeah, It's a super rainy and gloomy day, so I wish I could just sit on my couch and read this all day, but I have to go to work because it is a Tuesday after all, but that's okay. I'm thinking I might listen to the audiobook for this one a bit while I work today. So actually, yeah, I probably will listen to the audiobook today and then I'll just finish reading it tonight after work. Catch you later. Hello, you guys. It is currently the next day and I'm on my lunch break right now. I've been listening to the Daisy Hates audiobook yesterday and today, so I'm almost finished with it. Also got a new water bottle. I got a Simple Modern water bottle because if you did not know, it came out that Stanley Cups, I guess, have lead in them in like a particular part. It's the button that's on the bottom. If you have a Stanley Cup and look at it, you'll see the button. And the button on my Stanley Cup was damaged, so I may or may not have been exposed to lead. So hopefully this water bottle is lead-free. I am going to try and remember all the little things I've been thinking about while listening to the audiobook so that we can kind of like talk about the second book a little bit. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is that I've actually really been enjoying like reliving the timeline that we read about in the first book and the second book, but from different perspectives. I feel like it's probably pretty hard to do that, like repeat a timeline without it being too boring. But I don't know, the way Jess Hastings does it is so interesting. Like particularly the scene when Magnolia and her sister run into Daisy and Christian at lunch. In the first book, you get it from Magnolia's perspective, and then in the second book, you get it from Daisy's perspective. And it's just so funny reading the second book and like knowing what's going on in Daisy's head. Because in the first book, you're like, why is she being so mean? And then in the second book, you're like, oh, I gotta get where she's coming from. Because she's just so jealous and she feels like Christian took her out on this date just to see Magnolia. So obviously she's gonna be in a crappy mood. I also just love Daisy's character. I love how smart and witty she is and how, I mean, it's sad the life that she had that had to make her be able to like fight somebody, but I love that she can just like take people down. Like when that guy tried to slip something in her drink. Christian, however, is pissing me off. I remember I was annoyed with him the first time I read this book too. I like had some more sympathy for him from Magnolia's perspective, but from Daisy and his own perspective, I'm like, oh my God, Christian. The miscommunication trope is going on heavy in this book. Obviously, it's heavy throughout the whole series, but for some reason, it's less annoying with BJ and Magnolia's perspective, because even though they're not telling each other how they feel, they know how the other person feels. But with Daisy and Christian, they like don't know how the other person feels. And you're like, ugh. Tell each other how you feel. God. But yeah, I don't know if I'm really Team Christian or Team Romeo. They both kind of suck. But then you also like kind of feel bad for Christian, but then she has such history with Romeo. I'm gonna be honest, I do not remember how this book ends, so maybe I'll know which one of them I prefer once I finish this book. Because it kind of feels like I'm reading it for the first time again, not gonna lie. Okay, last thing, reading the whole flashback of how Julian and Daisy's parents died was so sad. Like why did I almost start crying reading that again? Anyways, I gotta eat some lunch. I will see you when I finish the book. Hello, you guys. It's clearly much later and I'm getting ready to go to bed. But I just finally finished Daisy Hates and oh my God, I forgot so much that happened in this book. I totally forgot the whole part where Julian didn't get paid, so he kidnaps the guy's kids, and then Taylor tells Daisy that Julian is kidnapping, doing one of the things that is like a no-no rule for them. And so Daisy goes, and in order to free the kids, she shoots herself to like cause chaos and distract everybody so that they can get out. And that obviously all the attention's on her instead of the kids leaving. That was crazy. And we got a little bit of a snippet of what's going on in Magnolia's story in New York at the very end. Miss Girl is down bad. It is time for this bad boy. It's so fun to look at the covers after you've like reread the whole book, because then you get to like pinpoint all the little parts of the book that are on the cover. Time for more pain. So I'm just about on page 200 of The Long Way Home. Much has happened. Much has happened. Basically, it starts off, and as we know, Magnolia has moved to New York. She's been there for about a year, made kind of like her life over in New York. But her dad, and I don't know actually how to say her name. In my head, I say like Mercilli. I don't know how to say her name. The woman who used to be her nanny, who was having an affair with her father, is getting married to her father, so she has to go back to London for the wedding after being in New York for a year. Meanwhile, BJ is back in London with a new Australian girlfriend, Jordan. And that whole storyline really just annoys me so badly because I really like Jordan. She seems like a really awesome, cool girl. But I'm like, BJ, can we please stop using her? Like, come on now. Magnolia comes home to London and Henry and Bridget are like, are you staying for a week? And she says, no, I'm actually staying for 3 weeks because she needs to be in London for December 3rd. Yeah, and then we get to the scene where they're at the wedding. And I specifically remember the first time that I read this book when I was reading the scene when BJ and Magnolia finally see each other after a really long time at the wedding. I remember it absolutely wrecking me, and I was feeling it again reading this scene last night. Yeah, they haven't seen each other for a year. They've been like no contact, and the first thing that BJ says to Magnolia is, how's the weather, Parks? Magnolia also sees that he has dead bee tattoos now, like you can see on the back of the book, because there's always tons of little Easter eggs all over these books. Yeah, but BJ got dead bee tattoos, which is also heartbreaking. He gets some very questionable tattoos throughout this book. It's so funny because like these books are so exhausting because it gives you such bad whiplash because one second they're like being so sweet to each other at the wedding, like want to see each other again. Next thing you know, they're both trying to meet up for December 3rd, but BJ leaves before Magnolia can get there because he doesn't think she's coming for some reason because he's stupid. And so they don't see each other on December 3rd, and then Magnolia is like breaking down over this, and it's like, but also I can't get enough. So the part that I'm at right now is it was just Christmas, and BJ comes to see Magnolia, gives her this necklace that she lost when she was 17. She's super happy about that. He's like trying to be a good guy and end it with Jordan before he does anything with Parks. So they just like kind of leave. We like know that BJ has been going to therapy, but this is like one of the first signs of hope that maybe he's like gonna make some good decisions and better himself so that he can be good enough for Magnolia. I feel like everything I just said would have put a Victorian child into a coma. Okay, it's a while later and I only have like 10 pages left of The Long Way Home. But basically, God, so much has happened. I forget that like the last chunk of these books are crazy. Magnolia gets into a car crash and luckily she's okay, and now her and BJ are engaged and everything's good, but you know it's not gonna stay good because these books never end on a happy note. I swear to God, if Into the Dark doesn't end on a happy note though, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I kind of feel like it will. Fingers crossed, Into the Dark ends on a happy note because these two need a happy ending. It's been a long, wild ride and they need a happy ending. The thought that keeps coming back to my mind as I'm rereading this book and going through the ups and downs and the ups and downs is that reading this book really puts you into what it feels like to be in a toxic relationship, because the parts when BJ and Magnolia make up are so good and so loving and so sweet, and you're like, oh my gosh, wow, they're growing, they're communicating better, this is gonna be the time that it works out. And then boom, they regress, they start miscommunicating, BJ does something stupid, and we're back to where we started. Oh, but you still like hold on to that hope that they're gonna figure it out eventually. That's what it feels like being in a toxic relationship reading these books. You just like get that glimmer of hope and you see how good it could be. You just hold on to that hope until you get it, until it's happy again, and then it's sad again. I don't even know if I'm making any sense. These books like make me crazy. Somehow I still find myself rooting for them despite how toxic they are. Like if this were a real life relationship and this was my friend's relationship that she was telling me about, I'd be like, get out, girl, get out. But here I am reading this book being like, no, they're fated. They're meant to be together, of course. Like I need them to end up together. It's so funny doing this reread because I haven't read it for like a year and a half. That's not that long. You would think I remember how this book ends, but I straight up don't. Anyways, let's go finish it. I don't know what's more concerning, the fact that Bridget may have just died, or the fact that I did not remember this happening at all in this book, and I don't remember if she actually died or if she's okay in the next book. This quote at the end really hits hard, and I feel like it especially hits hard if you have a sibling you're really close to, but it says, Through all the ways our parents failed us, my sister did not. My sister is the lace trimming around all of it, and I'm watching my fiance do his absolute and undeniable best to give my sister breath again, but he can't. She's already gone. So right when Magnolia and BJ are good, something else bad has to happen. Anyways, time to move on to the Great Undoing. I've been waiting for this one. Hello, you guys. I am about halfway through this book. I'm on page... Where's my bookmark? I'm on page 204, so I guess I'm a little bit over halfway. And I realized I haven't talked to you about it at all yet, which is shocking because this one was the one that I was most excited to reread. Today is Thursday, the 15th of February, which means it is the day after the Into the Dark release date. So I am just dying to finish this book so I can get to Into the Dark. I actually have a half day at work tomorrow to observe President's Day, so shout out President's Day. I'm going to be spending that half day going to Barnes to pick up Into the Dark. Probably reading all day as well. I'm so excited. But let's rewind back to this book and talk about The Great Undoing, because this book is a freaking masterpiece. This isn't new information for anybody who's read this series, but Julian's love for Magnolia is just so heartbreaking, because in this book especially, since we get Julian's point of view, we get to understand the inner workings of his mind more. And even though he's morally gray, this book just makes you want the best for him, and it makes you think that he deserves love, because he does deserve love. And it's just so sad that he probably won't be able to ever have it because of his line of work, being a crime lord and all. I was just flipping back through, reading the little bits when Julian says that Magnolia is his Everest, and she says, people die trying to climb Mount Everest. Julian says, not afraid of dying. I'm actually at the part where Daisy and Tiller just broke up, and Daisy hops her right back on the Christian train. Honestly, I'm not judging her because I wanted her to be back with Christian, and I love Daisy, but Miss Girl would definitely benefit from some therapy, as would all these characters. So who am I to judge? Thoroughly enjoying this book as expected. I thoroughly enjoyed it the first time I read it. I'll update you guys again when I get to the end and when I finish reading it. And also, I'm realizing, I have no idea. We just went this whole book not knowing what happened to Bridget. And I think maybe that's why I totally forgot that happened to her, because this book just we have no idea what happened, because this book hasn't gotten to the point in time in which Bridget fell ill. So I don't think I'll know what happens to her until I read Into the Dark. It's the great undoing of my heart as I know it. I just realized that I never mentioned that I brought this book out because I'm on my lunch break right now, and I want to do a little bit of reading on my lunch break. Sorry. Let's read a little bit, why don't we? I'm trying to prop you up on a jelly cat right now, and it's not working super well. Not right here. Nope. Okay. There we go. I knocked my jelly cat down. Anyways, it's the following day. It's Friday right now. I just got off work. I had a half day for President's Day. But I still have 80 pages left of this book that I need to finish before I am allowed to read the new one. I turned on the camera because I just got to the quote of all quotes, and I just needed you guys to experience it with me. From Julian's point of view, and he's talking about Magnolia, and this is right before he says that she's the great undoing of my heart as I know it, and that he needs to end it. But when he's talking about Magnolia, he says, she's the goddess in the Botticelli clamshell. Her eyes are the water lilies in Monet's pond. She's the hand of God reaching down to mankind. Klimt's kiss is a portrait of us, and I'm gonna steal it. Take it, make it mine, make her mine too. Maybe do that one first. A couple pages later. I hate loving her. It's the great undoing of my heart as I know it. She's made herself at home, kicked off those fucking cerulean heels, put her feet up on my left rib. Over the mantelpiece she hung her own portrait of herself, that little minx. Best painting I've ever seen too. Better than any woman anyone has ever painted in the history of time. A face I'd win battles for, a face I'd lose everything for, even her. It's time. Well, I'm emotional, but I think I might finish this book on audiobook because then I can listen to it while I do other things, and then we can go to Barnes & Noble and get Into the Dark. Oh my god, you guys, I'm finishing off the audiobook of The Great Undoing while I drive around and run my errands, and the drums. Jessa Hastings knows how to pack a drama-filled punch in the end of her books, let me tell you.
Christian's mom's in the hospital. Julian is like trying to hook up with Magnolia again, and then finds out that there's the threat on her life, and she gets in a car accident. And I have like 10 minutes left in the audiobook, but if I remember correctly, it leaves on the cliffhanger that you don't know if Magnolia is okay or not. You just know that she flipped her white Aston Martin with Bridget in the car. I need to finish this audiobook. Hello, you guys. I have all the books here with me because the time has finally come to wrap up this video because I actually already started Into the Dark last night. So I want to get this video edited and uploaded because I am making a video while I'm reading Into the Dark. Let's talk about my thoughts upon rereading these books. I loved them just as much as I did the first time, and my ratings pretty much stayed the same for all of them. I gave Magnolia Parks 5 stars, Daisy Hates 4.5 stars, The Great Undoing 4.75, I'd say, and 5 stars for, did I just call this The Great Undoing? The Long Way Home, 4.75. The Great Undoing, 5 stars. Remember earlier in this video I said the first time I read these books I preferred the 2 Magnolia Parks over the 2 Daisy Hates, but now rereading them I just love them all equally. It's like asking me to choose a favorite child. It's not gonna happen. Yeah, this was so much fun rereading all of these books. So thanks for coming along on this hectic journey with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was fun. Hopefully I'll see you in my next video where I'm reading Into the Dark. This is really just becoming a Magnolia Parks fan account at this point, isn't it? Oh well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah. Love ya. Bye.